All right, good afternoon. It is ULTradez here on July 25th for my daily trade recap. Looking at my trades today as I work to get my 20 accounts funded. Today was a rough one. Really, it's summertime. The market is slow. Yesterday, things worked out really. There was some good movement, and I've noticed that oftentimes the market kind of goes in sort of these waves where you'll have a good day and then the next day is kind of bumpy, and then you might have another good day and then it's kind of bumpy. So I should have expected a pretty bumpy day today. It's what we got. And so if we look at the P&L right here, rough day. I had trades all over the place today. I had a gold, or not a gold trade. Well, I did trade. I was just playing around, and so I traded one trade, which was really just a test using gold minis, or micros, and it was a loss. That's why this guy's a little bit worse off than the others by $11. I really just wanted to test it, so I did. And then I had, let's see, I think I had one winning trade and one losing trade in oil. I had a losing trade in RTY. I had a losing trade in ES. I wanted to share the love. So unfortunately, we gave back everything we made yesterday, plus some, putting, again, my trailing stops way too close for comfort. I mean, this is really getting, like $200, right? So not good at all, but we'll see what tomorrow brings. Anyway, let's go over the trades today. So part of what made today frustrating was all the trades worked out, but they were so slow, and they ended up taking out my stops before they worked out. So here's oil. So we came into the day, it had dropped coming in to the morning, and we have a really tight opening range. I mean, this is only 44 to 57 is half the range. So that's what, 13, so 26 ticks total in the opening range. I mean, that's about half what it, typically is. So really a tight range. It's really just kind of choppy in here. I'm looking for reactions off of the 21 SMA, the 5-minute 21 SMA primarily. So when we came up here, we did push above just slightly, but we really just hugged the line. We came off of it here, came back down. That's not enough of a test for me. I mean, it did work for, I think, 15, 16 ticks. It didn't go the full 20, which is what I'd be looking for. Did not take that trade. What I did like to see, I did like the push up. We haven't been there since, way pre-market over here, almost 2 hours earlier. So that was good. But there wasn't a lot of space here, right? It just kind of pushed up, pulled back real fast, right back into the consolidation. So what I did is I put my entry order to buy right at the break of this candle here. Okay. So it started off here when we touched. I was hoping it would pull right back out of that opening range. It didn't. We had this candle here, which did not close below. So I followed it down. I was not convinced that this was a good trade, but very technically it followed my parameters. So I went ahead and got into it. I did get it stopped out for 10 ticks, actually 11 ticks. Now this one was interesting. I got into this trade and the trade copier glitched, I guess. So it got me in on all 20 accounts, but it did not create my stop loss and my profit target orders. And so I was spending this time kind of, in sort of panic mode a little bit, just checking to make sure that nothing too weird was going on, and that, trying to make sure I understood where I was at. And I did not have any pending orders waiting to be triggered. And so I was kind of nervous. I wasn't 100% sure how to handle it. So I really just had an order ready to sell. And when this dropped, this just kind of shot down here. And so I just kind of dropped it at about I thought it was 10 ticks. It was actually 11 ticks where I dropped it. So that's where it sold. Now, ironically enough, it pulled down, just a few ticks past that down to 40, and I got out at 46. So 6 ticks further, and then, it did end up pushing up. We had a nice little test off the 1 minute gold line here before it pushed up into the overnight open. So that was a little, I don't know, a little annoying, I guess, to see that, it did work out, but it pulled back further than my stop loss. Then we kind of continued and we pushed up. Now this line here, this is just a line of resistance I have that I drew off the 1 hour time frame. It's just kind of there for reference. It is respected. I mean, we held to it, but at any rate, this never actually touched on my screen. So I didn't get into it. It would have been a nice trade had it touched. But then we came down to here, and I really liked this because it was rejecting off of this line of resistance that I had, which was really just kind of secondary. But it tapped the 5 minute 9 EMA, pulled back nicely, so I dropped my order there. We have enough room up to the recent high that that there should be some profit there. But it pulls back immediately and stops me out for 10 ticks. Again, it followed the parameters. Even if you counted that as a touch, that was the first touch since the cross here. This is the cross. Okay, here's our first touch up. Here's our second touch. We would expect that to work. And it did work eventually, but it just kind of hung out here for a minute before it actually pulled out. And then we come back. This is the third touch, not going to take it. It never comes back to my red line, so I stay out. Eventually it does come back, to this, to my red line. So this would be an entry. Now, I didn't get into this because, to be quite honest with you, I didn't trust the market at this point. It wasn't behaving the way that I expected to behave. So that, I kind of am questioning everything. And here, what is this, 11:25 my time? I'm over here looking at the 5 minute chart. Yeah, right here. Okay, so we've had this big red candle down. I just don't see anything here that says rejection on this 5 minute chart. And so I've got kind of, now obviously it rides it and does pull up a little bit and eventually gets up there, but it's not that reaction that we like to see. I should have honestly taken this trade because it did fit my criteria. This is the first touch since we crossed above it. Okay, so this should have been an entry. And actually, I haven't looked at this yet. I'm virtually certain this would have stopped me out. So I would have gotten it at 42 so my stop would have been at 32. Well, actually, look at that. So my stop was actually down here. So had I kept my stop there, ultimately it might have worked. Did I get up to 62? Yep. 62. So it did work. It was really slow and choppy, which, I guess that's what we should expect. Anyway, I just kind of waited, and here we're just kind of bouncing around. Okay, this was a winning trade, sort of. Here we push down below, so we have a cross below. We push up for a test. I get in, looks like 1 tick late on this one. Not sure why, if I got a little slippage or something. And then again, I'm not trusting it. So I'm trailing the bottom of the candles with my stop loss, and I get stopped out here for 60 to 65, 5 ticks, right? And that was it. And this was 1:30 my time. And CL kind of puttered out there. So that was my CL trade. We'll look at ES real fast. Still cranking along there. Okay, so this one, the market is just moving so slow. It's just, that just is what it is. So let me see. Let me just make sure that this was my only trade. Yeah, I think it was. I don't normally trade ES, but sometimes it works out pretty nicely. Actually, this reaction worked out fairly well. So I was watching it this afternoon, And what caught my attention was this break below. Okay, so we have a break below the 21 SMA. We pull back up and touch it, and I get in. I go ahead and get in one tick at the break of this candle, one tick below this candle. And I almost got out just because no confidence today, right? I almost got out here. I didn't. It did come back, tick me out again for a 10 tick stop. Again, the frustrating thing here is it went from 46.0350 to, so it went 3 ticks back from my stop. I mean, it went sideways, but it did eventually come down. My profit target, the full 5 points or 20 ticks, would have been, I think, at 94, if I remember right, 96 at 96. So right here. Eventually it did get there. At any rate, that was that one. Another loss. And finally we have RTY, which again, this one can work. Let's see. All right, so here we come along. And again, I'm watching oil primarily. These are just kind of in the back of my radar. But I see this pull down and break back above. And now what should have given me pause here was the fact that this didn't break this high. I mean, we're talking 10 o'clock to 10:38. I don't, is that enough time? In this case, doesn't look like it. But what I saw we came back above, we came back down. We have all the moving averages lined stacked up here. We have this candle push through and then pull back up. And what I'm looking at, this line right here is the top of the open range, which RTY stayed in the open range for most of the day, with the exception of this little bit here. So I was really looking for that. I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of confluence right there in my mind. I mean, that was okay. Again, probably the only caution flag here was the chop just all over the place, and we're still in this kind of consolidation area. I was pretty confident because it pushed up and then immediately pulled back, stopped me out for 10 tick loss. So it was one contract. So that was only a $50 loss, which was good, but not good, but not as bad as if it had been, $10 per contract. And then we just beat around in this area virtually all day, and I don't think I took another one. I want to say I thought there was something else. One of the things I've noticed, I guess just to wrap this up, is, again, kind of what we're doing here by using 5-minute moving averages on a 1-minute chart is trying to get in, basically trading on a 5-minute chart, but getting our entries more fine-tuned. And it kind of feels like when the market is moving this slow and volume is this slow, it's almost as if it takes, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles sometimes for the same volume and price movement that we would get on a normal day in one candle. So I look at like an area like this. And again, this is just my, not saying this is how it is, but I'm kind of just something I've observed, right? So if you look at this whole area, I mean, volume is just super, there's like no volume here. Okay. We do come up and we touch our moving average, and we do pull down, and this is 20 ticks. If we'd have got in at 81.6, I mean, it pulls all the way down to, well, 79.4. So 79.6 would have been 20 ticks. Okay, so barely 20 ticks, but it did go 20 ticks. And it's almost as if these candles or some combination of these candles together comprise the same amount of volume that we normally see, on a normal day, where this would just kind of come up, touch it, and pull back. And it's almost like it just takes more time there before we see the pullback. And I saw this in a couple of different areas. I don't know if there was one other one that I almost got into. Let's see, it might have been this trade, honestly, actually. Because I was watching this and it, we kind of came back into this consolidation range. We poked back up and then we came back down and we were hovering right along the moving average. And I was kind of looking at that saying, this is like, it's almost like we're inside of a 1 minute candle here with, 20-second increments or something, right? Just because each of these candles the volume is so low. And eventually once it pushes past like this area, once it breaks above this, then it moves. So I don't think that's enough to, adjust rules, but it is kind of interesting in terms of market behavior, especially when you're in one. It can take time. If we look at the oil trade, where was the oil? Yeah, this guy here, he took, got in on this push down, and it went like straight sideways for 3 candles before it actually pushed down. And again, I almost bailed out here just because we're going sideways for so long, but no volume. That's what you get. Anyway, that's my trade report. Those are the things that I noticed. I will be out again the next 3 days. I don't leave until, mid-morning tomorrow. So I'm hoping that the morning trading gives me an opportunity. If it does, I will take it. But I won't be trading at all Thursday and Friday. So we'll have no trade reports for Thursday and Friday. And then we'll pick it up on Monday, the 31st, and be back at it Monday through Friday. So let's hope that the summertime, I suppose it'll be this way for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, I may have to start shifting and just taking trades on the days that are really moving. And a day like this, maybe I just don't trade at all because it's just not worth it. The risk is too great. The trick is always identifying when that's going to happen early in the day. But I think, if we looked at oil, a sign might be this super tight opening range. You can see that here's the opening range. Here's the high. This green level is the high of the day. This red level is the low of the day. And here's our overnight open. All this price action is just in this really tight level, 78.29 up to 79.08. Right. So less than $1 range coming into it, which is pretty tight for oil. And the rest of the day bore that out. So either you have to be really super patient and maybe even move your stop back, which I cannot afford to do because, if one actually did stop me out for, 20 ticks, that would end the party for me. And we don't want that to happen. So anyway, those. I'll stop rambling. I know this has gone on way too long and probably nobody's even listening at this point. But if you are listening and you want to come back for more of this exciting content, be sure and subscribe, hit the notification bell. We like your comments. So if you have any comments or thoughts, feel free and share those with us. Trade safe, trade your plan, and have a good day. We'll talk to you, not tomorrow. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.